couple of years ago I started buying old motorcycles just so I'd have something to do in the wintertime, fix them, sell them in the spring, do something like that. I've got this bike and I've got another one. It was the other one that I was working on a few years ago. One weekend when Sarah and the girls were away, I brought it out here and I was goofing around with it, and I thought, well, before I start it, I should probably make sure there's oil in it. So pulled the dipstick out of it, no oil on the dipstick. And I thought, well, that's kind of strange. So put some oil in it, pulled the dipstick back in, pulled it back out, still no oil. I'm like, what? This can't be right. I put a lot of oil in it. So rather than putting the dipstick in and pulling it back out, I decided I'd stick my pinky finger in the motor just to see if I could touch some oil, and pulled it back out, nothing. So I thought, well, if my pinky finger can't reach it, maybe my index finger can. So I stuck that in the hole, and I went to, it was a little tight, but it was kind of oily around the hole, so I jammed my finger down harder, and then I decided, well, let's pull it back out. And I pulled, and I pulled, and I pulled, and I pulled. I couldn't get my finger back out of the motor. My finger was stuck in the oil hole of the motorcycle. And worse than that, I was on the end of my garage where the door opens, and my telephone was at the bench on the other end of the garage. The bike weighs 600 pounds and I've got my finger stuck in the side of the motor. There's not a chance I can move the bike anywhere without breaking my finger off. I'm sitting there thinking, what am I going to do? Like, I can't get my finger out, and I can't move the bike, and I can't call for help, and now I'm going to starve to death because Sarah's not home, and they're going to come home 3 days from now. I'm going to be laying on the floor in my garage with my finger in my motorcycle. It was a bad deal for a while there. And worse than that, because my finger was in the hole and it was really tight, the blood was starting to pool in my finger. My finger was swelling, so I thought, well, I've only got one chance. If I can ever pull my finger out, it's got to be now. And I went, and I ripped half the skin off of it, but I finally got it out. That story reminds me that we need to think about not only what we're doing right now, but the end of the story as well. A great question to ask yourself over and over again is, how do I want this to end? Because I was only thinking about sticking my finger in the motor and trying to see if I had any oil, that story could have ended really badly. Mature people don't just think about what they're doing now. Mature people think about the end product, think about what's going to happen down the road, think about what I want this to look like when it's all over. We often think about and make plans for how things start. Mature people think about how they want it to end. Scripture tells us that all the time. Proverbs chapter 3 verses 5 and 6 say this. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. We're in a time right now where it might be tempting to just think about what I want right now. I want to get outside, I want to go do things, I want to be with my friends. I want to get back to normal. But that's almost like sticking your finger in the motorcycle without thinking about the end. Can we be mature enough to think about end results? Can we be mature enough to think about how I want this to finish, what I want it to look like at the end? Not only in this situation, but in our relationships and the way we treat people. When I get to the end, what do I want people to be able to say about me? That's what mature people think.